Georgia,
The Inward Nine.
Georgia,
We on the grind,
Georgia,
all the time. It ain't nothing on my mind, but
Georgia,
we ain't playing with you. We on the grind,
Georgia,
all the time. It ain't nothing on my mind, but we ain't
Georgia.
playing with you. Country name.
Welcome back to the Inward Nine, a Fantasy Golf Metrics production. My name is Jeff Ulrich. Joining me, as always, Fantasy Golf Metrics co-founder Stephen Richter at FG Metrics. Now, we're going to be reviewing the Masters. We're going to be talking a little bit of RBC heritage. But first of all, how mad were you, Steve, that Ricky didn't get it done? Because I know you're big on Ricky this week.
You know, it's not that I'm mad, and we mentioned before we came on, it was just really conflicting for me on Sunday because many of our users and followers know I'm actually a big Patrick Reed fan. I always joke with Jeff Feinberg. I mean, he's always like 30 to 40 to 1 in most tournaments, and the question is, do you think he's going to win one out of every 30, 40 events? And the answer is yes. So to have a guy that, I actually really root for most of the time, a guy that we've bet recently and then not have him, that was the most conflicting thing for me to kind of say, like, do I want him to fall back so I can get my guys in or just make it more exciting? Because obviously, we were big on Ricky and where he was coming, he just, a stroke back. I think one of the most interesting things or confusing things was obviously how Rory didn't really factor after those first couple holes where he gave himself a chance. I mean, what are your thoughts there?
Well, I mean, yeah, Rory was like, I was pretty shocked on Sunday. I think most people just figured he was going to be a factor one way or the other. Either Reed was going to go out and just beat him straight up, or Rory would overtake Reed. But that was the most shocking thing to me. And I mean, I know I mentioned to you already, like, of the people who I kind of lost, again, maybe not the most respect for, but like I was most shocked by this weekend. It was Rory on Sunday. So definitely not a good tournament for him, at least the way it ended. And usually you see cocky Rory go out and kind of back up his words, but I really didn't like what he had to say Saturday night, to be quite frank. I mean, trying to pretend like the pressure's only on Reed and that there's no pressure on him. I mean, it's a major championship. You're trying to close out the Grand Slam. Of course there's some pressure. So I don't want to say I wasn't all that surprised, but I didn't like what he had to say Saturday. Let's put it that way. Kind of left a bad taste in my mouth. So, but I mean, I'm on you with Patrick Reed, man. I mean, at the Valspar, I kind of went over how I like the way he does his own thing out there. Really surprised at the backlash that a Patrick Reed win got. I mean, I know he'd be like a divisive major championship winner, but I didn't think it would be this bad. I didn't think you'd have people coming out being like, wow, this is, he won, but, the golf will get away from it. Like it's some kind of stain on golf that Patrick Reed won a major.
No, listen, he's a fiery competitor. I think he's great for the game. Obviously, the history with the Ryder Cup. He's a winner. He's a winner. Whether you like him or not, he gets it done. He's won a WGC. He's won events on tour. Now he's won a major. I mean, listen, ever since he had that thing where he came out and said he's one of the top 5 players in the world, he got crushed. And, golf's not a game where you can have that bravado. You got to let the play speak for itself. And, it's a sport that doesn't really reward that kind of attitude like it does in football or basketball or anything like that. And I think it's somewhat refreshing. It's not like he goes about his business when he's on the course in the wrong way. He made some comments to the media. He's very, very confident in himself. I have no problem with that. And listen, he now has a WGC, Ryder Cup, stalwart, and he's a major champion. So he's finally letting the play speak for himself.
It is, and it's just annoying because it feels like he's still not getting the credit just because people always complain, oh, I wish guys would talk more. I wish you'd get like less cookie cutter answers. And then you get a guy like Reed who comes out there and actually says a little bit, and it's like he just gets turned into this huge villain. So look, I don't know Patrick Reed. I don't know what his family situation is actually like. I don't know how his upbringing actually went or any of that BS that it was kind of like the gossip mill Sunday night. But again, I mean, I just don't know how you can't appreciate him as a player just for being a little bit refreshing at least. And especially from an American standpoint, he's done so much for the Ryder Cup team. Like, you figured he'd be at least semi-popular, but man, it's just like, you could tell everyone watching was hoping that Ricky or Jordan Spieth would win.
That's the thing. I think it's a little bit less about Reed. It's kind of like a victim of circumstance there in that there were so many big names, and then all of it coming in. Again,
Right.
I don't think it was a disappointing Masters by any means. It was extremely exciting. It was great to watch, but at the same time, I think it could have been greater given what we were building it up to be with everyone. And for Patrick Reed to win when you had all those names and all those storylines, I think it's just not. It's not what people wanted. So they're taking it out on him like they basically have in the past, and they should just really appreciate how good of a player he is.
That is kind of a good way to put it, because I mean, when you have such a popular guy like Jordan Spieth or Ricky Fowler chasing, you know everyone's going to be pulling for them, no matter who's in the lead. So it's like you said, Patrick Reed is just an easy target, I guess. I'm kind of with you there on Sunday. Like it was obviously really exciting the way it broke down. It did kind of feel like two different tournaments almost. It was like, Reed and Rory, Reed's holding on, Rory imploding, and then, Jordan Spieth making his run, but he was kind of on a different part of the golf course. So it was exciting from that standpoint. I mean, watching guys almost make history is always cool. And then obviously Ricky forcing Patrick Reed to make par in the last was really cool too. Lots of guts shown by Ricky. And I mean, look, hey, the one thing I really did get right this week, I didn't get much right. I called Ricky Fowler to finish runner-up in this tournament preseason. He was my preseason runner-up pick. Now, look, I also picked Mark Leishman to win, so I was very off on that. And we can talk a bit about Leash because, man, after Friday, I was convinced he was going to win. But, look, man, Ricky Fowler, he's ready to win. And I texted you this on Sunday, but he's winning the U.S. Open. He's winning at Shinnecock. We'll get too into it right now, but I got my reasons. I had him before preseason. He's my preseason pick for the U.S. Open, but now I'm like convinced he's winning at Shinnecock.
I'd love to see it. I mean, yeah, like I said, there's not too much to get into. I might let it cool off on the books because I imagine he's probably pretty favorable right now. I mean, I don't know how much he's going to go up from where he is right now.
As long as he doesn't win, he won't go up. So
I might let it cool off a little, but yeah, I mean, it was interesting. I mean, listen, Jordan. It was interesting to see two guys almost break the course record and then not break it, because it seemed like so easy for them to do it, and they both kind of gave it away at the end. Casey and Spieth. I mean, listen, Spieth, I gave himself a chance to win, but it was like a very
what about that Spieth drive on 18? What the hell?
I mean,
didn't even hit the fairway.
What was worse, that drive or Rory on one?
I mean, the way it ended up, Spieth. I mean, that's legitimately embarrassing for a tour. I know that shoot is like so tight, and if you just pull it a bit, I'd be hitting 10. If you gave me 10 drives, I'd probably hit 5 like that, and just hit a tree or something, and it would just fall. Because that is like legitimately one of the tightest driving shoots out there. But still, I mean, I've watched every Masters the past 10, 15 years. I've never seen anything like that, at least on TV. So that was crazy. But the Roy drive on one was crazy too. I mean, he's lucky not to double that hole, and for him not to take advantage on 2 of that eagle putt, like you said, it just went downhill so fast. Really shocking to me. What else really stood out to you from this tournament? I mean, obviously a lot of our guys, it wasn't like I'd call it like unsuccessful, but it was just like so many guys came up just short for us. I mean, Leishman obviously fell off after Friday or on Saturday, and then he just missed the top 8 for me. But who else kind of fell short for you?
We hit with Hoffman top 20. That was he made it easy on us. That was 3-1 there. Hadwin we had outright, and listen, I don't think anyone of us thought that, but a 150-1 we said sure, but we had him more each way, and we also had him top 20, and he just missed out, so he was like one place out or one shot out. We had our head-to-head tie in the end. I had Kim over Wiesberger. More kind of like factored. We had a lot of guys flirting with the bet lines, and it was just one of those weeks where we were right on the other end of it. Like you said, it's not like any of these guys played poorly. I mean, we had Garcia to finish top 20, so that didn't work out too well. That was something else.
That was...
listen, it was just one of those weeks. I mean, we had guys in it, but that's what made it sort of flating from my perspective. I mean, if I had no money on the line and I wasn't, we weren't putting out picks and trying to, to advise people on what to do, it probably would have been a lot more enjoyable for me because I would have enjoyed the Patrick Reed thing. But, when I'm looking at my card and I have Fleetwood and it's like, yeah, he's in the top 5 to start the day. Like, that's great, but he's still 9 shots back. So what does it mean? I mean, it's like we picked guys that were in it, but when it's horseshoes and hand grenades, there was nothing there on Sunday.
I mean, I'll admit I was sweating all Sunday, like because I got on Patrick Reed after the first round. I think it was like 25-1. It wasn't a huge bet, but it essentially saved my week. So I mean, the whole Sunday I was just Spieth's making birdies every hole. Ricky's coming up, and I didn't even want to cheer against Ricky because like I know you have Ricky and I like Ricky, so I didn't even mind if he won. But yeah, it was a sweaty Sunday for me, at least from that perspective. But worked out okay. I'm glad I got on Patrick Reed. He saved me a little bit, even though I feel dumb for not betting it. Someone asked me, I think it was like just before the Valspar, who do you think a good value is for the Masters? I actually threw out Patrick Reed at like 60-1, but then his price went down right after that, I think to 45. And I'm just like, I can't bet Patrick Reed.
Well, that's the thing. When I was putting together the bets, I glossed over it, and I'm like, I think it was like 35 or 30 by the time. And I was like, you know what? I actually looked at it, and I'm like, this is the same number I would normally say, yeah, but there's too many guys, and I already had too many bets. If he was at that 50 number, it would have been a lot more interesting. It was just too tough with how many bets we already had on the card.
It's not like Patrick Reed had a good Masters history either.
No,
like there was some pretty good reasons for people not to bet him. So, I'm not gonna like beat myself up in that perspective. But I just found it interesting because I did throw him out there to someone who asked me. Hopefully that person bet him. But yeah. Anyways. It was definitely an interesting Masters, like I said, up and down, crazy Sunday, that's for sure. And like I said, I'm happy for Patrick Reed. I'm glad he closed it out. I tweeted out the middle of the week. I wanted to see someone like Leishman or Reed close out their first Masters, or Ricky, and I'm happy for him. I mean, he does his own thing, whatever. I mean, whatever he's got going on in his personal life, he's probably not as bad as like 99% of professional athletes in other sports. Just remember that before you start dissing Patrick Reed. The stuff I've read on Twitter is just ridiculous. But hey, we've got another golf tournament to talk about this week. The RBC Heritage, the Masters of the Luke Donald, Graham McDowell, Brandt Snedeker Masters. That's what I like to call this week.
Yeah, it's interesting because you got a lot of the RBC sponsor guys, same guys that show up at the Canadian, that they show up here. And they play well, and they play well in the same event. So it's interesting. I love the course. It's a peat dye, but not necessarily the type of peat dye that you generally expect when you think the bigger golf course like a French Lick or the Players, anything like that. Very different in that regard, but. It's fun. It's always a good event. I think it's the right event after, the major. I mean, a lot of the majors, the U.S. Open has the Travelers. I think all of those events, they're very kind of similar, and they're nice, like cool down. Like you went for a run, and it's that last minute where you need to just cool down and break and finish off your sweat. That's where we are, and what you're going to get this week. You're going to get good conditions. It's going to be a fun, tight golf course. It's not going to be something where anyone gets overpowered. A lot of guys will be in it. A lot of like you said, the usual names. It's a good event all around. It's not a great field. It's not a huge field. It's only about 135 people. But what are your thoughts?
I mean, I come into this event every year and I'm like, oh man, it's a good event. It's good for handicapping because like you can really narrow it down. There's always like a select group of people who do well here. Every year, I swear to God, this event kills me. Kills my bankroll every year. Killed me last year after I had a really good Masters. Oh, but I'm gonna get it this year. Let's put it that way. So I'll get. This is my year for the RBC Heritage. I'm going for revenge. But I do think it's a cool little event. I mean, I like it. It brings different people into play. It's usually got a pretty good feel because you get some of the international guys coming over. And again, this year's really no different. So and plus like Dustin's in the field this year, which just is going to be interesting in itself to see how he plays this course. But yeah, no, I mean, hey, look. Hilton Head, like you said, it's a seaside course. It's sometimes a little bit of bad weather can mix in too, which makes it interesting. I mean, a couple of years ago when Brandon Grace won, he won at like -9. It was like the eighth hardest course on tour or something. So it can play tough too. It's not like a pushover at all. Interesting last year. I mean, it had some guys coming from way back. I think Wes Bryan was like 4 or 5 shots back. So got hot with the putter as you can on this course because the greens are small, but they're pretty flat and good Bermuda. Guys can get them rolling. So it's an interesting event. Who off the top sticks out to you? I mean, I just read the Survival Guide before we get started, but I do think you like someone at the top.
Yeah, listen, I don't know if you shouldn't expect so much. Maybe he's going to have a little bit of a hangover, but I mean, Paul Casey, I don't see. I'm not surprised to see him at the top. The margin we have between him and the next best player is as wide as I've seen in the guide. I mean, we have him ranked first in form. He's actually got a really good history here. We have him 12th, third in secret stat. I actually love that DJ's playing this week because I think it helps Casey's odds. I see Casey at like 14, 15 to 1 right now. I think if DJ wasn't in the field, he'd probably be at like 9 or 10 to 1. So considering we played Casey at 20 to 1 when he won a couple weeks back, 14 to 1 in this field with how he has been playing, I don't have a problem with that number at all. So that's definitely interesting to me. But yeah, I mean, it's just like you said, it's a lot of the same names. I mean, Matt Kuchar is up there, Webb Simpson is up there for us. I'm looking at the secret stat trend, and a guy that always comes up this week is trending in the right direction in terms of secret stat, and that's Brian Gay. He's a guy that he won here by like 11 shots. He's always in the mix. He finished 9th here last year. He's a horse for course kind of guy, and he hasn't been playing that great recently. But some of the things that I see peeking into this event where he has played well, he's definitely on my radar again. Russell Knox, Jim Furyk, guys like that have some phenomenal history here. They're also up there for us. So yeah, it's definitely one of those courses where I feel like it's a course history course compared to some of the other ones.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, when you have a guy like Luke Donald who's finished runner-up here 5 times. Yeah, literally 5 times in like the past, I think it's 8 years. It's pretty crazy. I mean, or maybe it's 10 years, but it doesn't really matter. It's just an insane record that he's got. I mean, and he's got like top threes too. So actually, I'm just going to look at it right now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, he's so 7 out of his last 9 appearances, Luke Donald has finished 3rd or better.
Yep.
That's insane. I mean, that's better than Jordan Spieth's record at the Masters, basically. Like literally. I mean, it's kind of a sight to behold. That being said, I mean, like, I don't know how you roster Luke Donald. Like, I just don't. This is his record coming in: missed cut 64, missed cut 37, missed cut.
Yeah, I mean, Luke Donald, even though he's up there in history rank for us, we have him ranked 113th in form.
Yeah.
I can't, he's 196th in the world. He's only made 2 of 6 cuts. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, listen, he's interesting. Maybe you can get behind him on a head-to-head bet with someone, and if he does play well, you caught him there. But it's really hard to play him any other way unless you're.
And we like course history guys. Like we both take course history into consideration, and we're still both saying like, I don't know how you can play Luke Donald. It's just.
I mean, I should look up the old survival guides. We have him ranked 2nd overall in course history.
Yeah.
Knox we have first. What is his history here?
Knox is really good too here. I think his worst finish is 11th or something like that.
I think that's why. I think his Donald does have the 1 missed cut technically in the whole thing.
Okay.
But so he's 2nd. I think I should look back at the guides. This might be the highest rank we've had someone in history, and have them so low ranked overall. I mean, it's not a huge percentage of the model, but at the same time, like, it usually gives you like, if you're this good at a course, you can usually bump yourself up to like maybe the 3rd class. But he's like down in the 4th class, and yeah, it's I don't know how you can get behind him unless you're really gonna go with that course history.
Yeah, and I mean, hey, I can't even really talk people off of him because he's just. I mean, I'm pretty sure he was in almost as bad a form last year at this time. Maybe not quite as bad, but pretty similar. And he almost won the golf tournament. So I don't know. Maybe I honestly don't know what else to say about Luke Donald. It's a very weird situation where you have a guy, like you said, whose course history is so dominant, yet whose recent form is like so bad. So definitely, kind of like a polarizing figure this week, like he has been last year. Going through the field, I mean, I don't even know what to say about Dustin. I guess, for DFS, he could be an interesting GPP pick for sure. I'm not sure how highly owned he'll be. We'll have to see when the projections come out. I'm not going to bet him or anything like that, just because, I mean, this usually comes down to, being able to scramble around the greens in a putting contest. It's not like Dustin can't do those things, but at like 8 or 9 to 1, there's just guys I'd rather spend money on. So,
well, that's what I mean. If you're looking at the top guys, there's no way I'm going to spend 8 to 1 on DJ and not 14 to 1 on Casey. That's kind of how I'm looking at it. I mean, it shouldn't. I'm not really taking into account DJ. He played here back in 09 and 08. He missed the cut badly both times. I don't really take that too much into account, but it does say a lot for the game. I mean, even though that's a long time ago, he has won an event every single year for like 12 straight years, so he's always been a good player. It's just, I'm surprised he's playing. I don't know. I haven't heard any reasons why. I didn't know he was going to be in the field until.
He's sponsored by RBC now. They signed him like 2 months ago.
That's
and
why.
when they signed him up, he signed up for this golf tournament. So.
Gotcha, that makes sense, of course.
So it really is like a week for it's just like a sponsorship week for Dustin. I don't want to say it's like a money making week, but it basically is. It's his sponsor. He shows up.
I mean, it's one of the few weeks where we run the key stats regressions, and driving accuracy is noticeably significantly more than driving distance. Usually driving distance has a slight edge or it's the same. It's one of those courses, and we've been doing this for enough years now. This is the third year we're covering this event, third year. I just knew it was going to be driving accuracy. I just needed to know how much I was going to weigh it, and the numbers came up as expected. And it's not often we see it more, or like noticeably more than driving distance, but it's just one of those courses where you can be in the fairway and be blocked by trees here the way it is. The trees overhang the first cut. Like you're in the first cut and it's not a good scenario. Yeah, no, absolutely. It's a cool little golf course. I mean, it does. It's like I said off the top. It's not that easy a place. Like the winning score here, I think is still only average is like minus 12, minus 13. So it's 12 and change. Yeah, 12 exactly. So it's not what you call like a pushover. That's what makes it so interesting though, because you can get in trouble if you're not scrambling well. You're probably not going to score. So it's an interesting course. Like I said, let's. I'm just going to throw out some players on the top end here. You can just give me your quick thoughts. I'll just it doesn't even have to be from the top end. Just be from anywhere here. But Brian Harman. He's slowly creeping for me. I noticed him before we came on here. I didn't write him down, but he was a guy that I know people have kind of been like checking out and getting in on the last couple of weeks. But I got him ranked 18th in form in the field, 12th in trend. That's the thing there. That trend stat, I've been mentioning it more and more. I didn't really factor it in so much, but now that I've had some more data using it, I actually am trusting it a bit more than I have in the past. I mean, Bern Wiesberger was 1 in trend last week, even though some of his overall play wasn't that great. Obviously, that plus his course history, and he had a decent week overall. Harman at 12. Yeah, I mean, listen, the secret stat's not exactly there, but he's 23rd in the world, which I think would be a surprise. I actually didn't really realize that until I'm looking at it in front of me. For a guy that he's been playing really well for a while, I think he's been a little under the radar, and this is definitely a good spot for him. I like him over Webb Simpson this week, especially like for GPPs. Maybe for a cash game, I'd just take Webb, but I think Harman's got some upside. He can definitely take a low round here. I think Webb's going to be kind of chalky this week too, which is going to be interesting because whenever Webb Simpson is chalky, it just seems to not work out. But he has been putting and scrambling pretty well this year, so Webb's kind of interesting. But I have a little bit of interest in Harman this week too. Maybe not my top play or anything, but a little bit of interest there. Maybe especially Contrarian. I don't think he's going to be highly owned. What about Tyrell Hatton? I mean, as you can see, he's a guy we have in the first class. 10th in form, 6th in history. He's only got the one event here. He finished 29th, but he scored pretty well in terms of DFS. So he's interesting. He looks a little underpriced. I mean, he's legit top 20 player in the world. I mean, he's ranked under Ian Poulter in price, under Webb Simpson in price. I like Tyrell Hatton this week. I might even bet him, to be honest. I think it's a great course for him. He's $1,000 less than Brian Harman. Yeah, exactly. He can get the putter rolling. So didn't play that poorly last week, really. I mean, it's only second time at Augusta. So, yeah. And hey, look, I mean, I know I threw out something out this morning on Twitter. I think it was of the 5 of the last 6 winners, only one of them has made the cut or played. Has made the cut at Augusta. So of the last 6 winners, only one of them has made the cut at Augusta. It was Matt Kuchar in 2014. Now, Tyrell hadn't made the cut, but it's not like he was in the mix. So I kind of like him from that perspective, too. Here's a guy I'm actually really interested in. I'll tip my hand before, but Ryan Moore. So obviously a guy that we liked last week. He's in our second class right now, 17th in form, 19th in trend. History. I mean, he made a cut, missed a cut. You know, it is what it is.
Well, and here's the thing about Ryan Morse. He hasn't played this event, I think, since 2008.
Yeah, it's not.
Which
like
is really weird because you figure this would be like the perfect Ryan Moore course.
Yeah, it definitely feels just like the kind of course. Yeah, you know, back in kind of like DJ. You know, back in 08 and 07, missed cut, made cut, but nothing really of note. Hard to really kind of pin that on. I mean, 8,500, played well last week, was kind of on the way up. I can't fault you there. I mean, it's interesting to see him come in. This could be a really good spot for him as well.
Hey, second in strokes gained tee to green at Bay Hill too. Didn't play that bad last week, and he hasn't played that much. So even though he played last week, it doesn't concern me as much with a guy like Ryan Moore. Like I said, this is just, you know, he hits a lot of fairways. He's actually been scrambling pretty well this year too. It kind of just feels like if his putter heats up, he could get in the mix. So I really like him. I actually already bet him at 55-1. I just feel like price wise, with some of these guys who are like 40-1, like and like 30-1, Harmon and Simpson, like Ryan Moore's a 4 or 5 time winner, whatever, on tour already. And he's always won at courses like this. Like he's won at Sedgefield, won at TPC Deer Run, shorter tracks, tighter tracks. So I'll take some Ryan Moore this week. I kind of like him as a pick, anyways.
A guy,
let's go down. Or throw him out, yeah.
Yeah, a guy I like. I always like him, and most people don't. But
Zach Johnson.
Yep. Sitting top of our second class, 12th in form, 27th in trend, 5 straight cuts made. He's played here a bunch. It's a Zach Johnson type of course.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
At 7,900, I feel like you're getting great value there. 14-3 on Fantasy Draft, 10-3 on FanDuel. Yeah, I mean, he's kind of like on the way up. I mean, he had some glimpses last week where he was competing, and I think it's kind of like the whole horse race thing that I always go into. It's a class type thing. You know, last week, he's kind of out of his league, but this week, he's still one of the premier players in the field in my mind.
Yeah, ZJ was kind of sneakily in the mix for like a little bit last week. Mm-hmm. Hey, was his last win the Open in 2015? I think it was, wasn't it? Yeah. So I mean, he's won since then. Kind of like a Phil situation where he's playing well, maybe just finally progressing to that next win. I definitely can't hate it. I definitely don't hate the price on him, 7,900. I mean, I think he definitely got to be like a cash game guy you could consider there. So going down, there is a player here. I'm kind of surprised about his price and just like his betting odds too. Schauffele. Xander Schauffele at 7,700. He's 55-1 too.
Yeah, he's in our first class, 9th in form, no history here, 18th in secret stat, which is like the thing that, you know, I always mention. He's one of the guys that helped kind of prove the concept to us. He is slowly coming back to form. He's not quite at where he was last year, and again, that was a beautiful breakout year for him with a win, the U.S. Open finish, things like that. But he is slowly creeping, and we've been watching him for a while. We've had him a couple weeks over the last month. Definitely like him at 7,700. Yeah, it's a ridiculous price. Same scenario as Zach Johnson, 14-3, 9-7 on FanDuel. Definitely a DFS play for me. Yeah, no, I mean, and Schauffele, the only thing you worry about is him just being able to, you know, like, it's almost like a Duffner situation from last year where he didn't sink enough putts on the weekend, and his short game maybe wasn't, you know, sharp enough. But at 7,700 and even 55-1, like, it just seems like a really ridiculous price for him in this field, at least, especially when you can compare him to, like I said, some of the other guys. That's the interesting thing about this course, though. I mean, some guys get big bumps. Guys like Kevin Na, who's got really good short game, has a great course history, and then you get players coming in who don't play here as often. And oftentimes you'll get them at bigger prices. So it's kind of what happened to Brandon Grace the year he won. It was his first year seeing the course, I believe. I'm not going to check it, but I'm pretty sure it was. And I mean, people just didn't give him that much credit. Came out here, liked the course, and won. So, and he got him at a good price that year. It was like 40-50-1. So could be a similar situation with Schauffele. Definitely a player we know is capable of winning. I like another young player here. I like Ollie this week. Third year last year, good Bermuda putter. I think his short game and putting has improved a little bit this year, so I like that. Hasn't played for a bit. I don't know. I'm always going to take some Ollie, especially this week, because he did play well here last year. So
I don't know what the guide is saying about him. I haven't really, like I said, looked it over too much. But
he's in the second class. You know, like I said, third last year, which is only started here, so it puts him ninth in history, just with a limited sample. 43rd in form, which it's respectable. I don't hate it. I don't know that I'm looking at him as a guy to win, but there's nothing wrong with that play. I mean, like you said, a Bermuda guy. It seems like this is the kind of course that's been pretty good to him. Over the last year or two, kind of getting a feel for him as a younger player on tour. I know you always love him, but I don't have any problem with Ollie.
Yeah, no, I mean, he's another guy's obviously coming in off a bit of a rest too, and his recent form hasn't been that good. So I'm hoping people kind of stay off him because, again, another player who brings good birdie potential too. Like for DFS, I definitely like him this week in that range. Siwoo's kind of interesting too in that range. He's played Pete Dye courses well. He played pretty well last week. At least had one good round. So I can't say I hate him. Obviously, he's more boom or bust than Ollie, but definitely a player I'd have on the radar. What are your thoughts on Charles Schwartzel? Like, I would assume the guy doesn't like him just because his trend isn't good. He doesn't have like the greatest course history. But
would you have 75, 90 to 1, something ridiculous today, right?
He's 90 to 1. And he is a pretty good Bermuda putter, which I found interesting. Like if you go to the turf splits on Fantasy Golf Metrics, you can see his turf splits there.
I mean, we have him in the third class, kind of the middle of the pack. We do have him pretty high up in the history. He's made both of his cuts here. His average finish is like 33rd or so, but he's scored a lot of points. I mean, he's averaging 21st in DFS points here, 11th in strokes gained tee to green. He hasn't putted well here relative to the field, but he has struck it well. I mean, listen, he's always been a better ball striker all around, but I think he's kind of like one of these guys on the up. I mean, at that price, like it's just 90 to 1 is a lot, right? Like
it is, especially for Schwartzel. I mean, like he's won on a course with Bermuda greens before, and it was only a couple years ago at Valspar. And Valspar is actually kind of a decent course comparison. It's tighter fairways there too. Like it's another course where if you don't hit the fairway in the right spot, you can get blocked out. He's played here a couple times. And the thing that I found really interesting, right before the Masters, he tweeted out, he's like, man, I'm swinging it like the best maybe I ever have. And I know he hasn't played well, but maybe it was just like a week delayed here because he was actually on track to make the cut. And then he went +3 over his last 2 holes. And again, with the track record that some guys have had here of missing the cut and then playing really well and winning this week, I mean, at 90 to 1, like I said, I'm all over that. So just interesting. I thought I'd throw that out there. I think he's an interesting play this week because with a player of that quality, unless they go in some like injury or like huge slump, he's going to break out of it eventually and have a big week.
Again, it's that price, like 90 to 1. It's almost like so big that like someone knows something and you can't play him. Like that's like it's a ridiculous number.
I don't even think it's that. I just feel like he just hasn't played well. He doesn't have much course history, and no one's given him any credit. And it is ridiculously big though. Like I thought he'd be like 60, maybe lucky to get 70 to 1. And I woke up and I'm like 90 to 1. Hey, yeah, I'll be hitting that because I had him on my short list already. I thought he'd get higher odds, but when I saw that number, it was pretty automatic. So there's some other interesting names down there. Like Bud Cauley's played okay. You like Bud?
Yeah, I mean he's a guy that he's never really gotten the finishes to make it profitable, but he's always a guy that we like, right? This season.
He's always been a better DFS play than a bet. Yeah. Really. Like he really has. I hope he gets a win soon, maybe to this week, but he's a good DFS play at 7,300. He makes a lot of cuts. He's got a good course history. Had that wrist issue, but again, playing better now. So played well at Bay Hill. I definitely like the price on him this week.
Trying to see. What do you think about Bryson?
I don't know. Bryson's hard to pin down. I just feel like I'm okay fading Bryson. Look, he played the Masters. It was this, only his second Masters. He's probably a little drained. He had the big finish at the Arnold Palmer. I don't see him coming back and just putting up another big week here after that kind of run. I'd rather take Grillo at 86 personally. We got him ranked really high, don't we?
Yeah, we got him second.
Yeah, second overall. So first, like just behind Casey. I like Grillo, man. He's improved his short game and his putting this year, which is what you want to see on this course. He's actually pretty accurate off the tee too. Like he's a guy who hits a lot of fairways. just overall, he's good off the tee, which you don't necessarily have to be good off the tee. I mean, Wes Bryant was like second last or something in strokes gained off the tee last year and won. But Grillo is a guy who can definitely place it on a course like this. Maybe not like my top bet or anything like that, but a 40-1, I don't think is a bad bet. Who would you rather? That's a good question. Who would you rather bet this week at 40-1, Kisner or Grillo? I think most people would say Kisner.
Yeah, I would say Grillo.
You would say Grillo? Yeah.
I've noticed, I try and keep my biases. I don't have any reason for it, but I am generally I'm generally lower on Kisner than most people. I don't really know why, but when people like him, I generally see numbers that I don't like. So it's not so much that I don't like him. It's just I think when people do, I'm particularly not on him. So
yeah, I can see that. I mean, it's hard for me to tell people not to like. I'm not going to tell people not to play Kisner. He'll probably be more popular than Grillo, but I do like Grillo better. I just like the way he's trending. I think if you really look at it objectively, Grillo's probably got the better upside just as a player overall, better tee to green. Kisner obviously can putt the lights out. That is something you need on this course. So that's an interesting like kind of 1 versus 1 actually, because we're both high on Grillo, but I think we both admit this is like a really good course for Kevin Kisner too. So I mean, obviously he lost in the playoff here a couple of years ago, so we already know that. But it's
two other guys up top. I mean, I don't think anyone wants to hear me talk more about Adam Hadwin, but obviously still like him. But just below him, and again, he's been pretty popular all around, but I definitely like Patrick Cantlay.
Right.
He finished third last year. Whatever last week, it was his first Masters. But 27th in form, 8th in history, 2nd in secret stat. I think this is a good spot for him. I think this is a good play. I think he'll be popular. I don't think it's like a secret play or anything like that. There's a lot of confidence around him in what I'm seeing that I could get behind him.
I wonder how popular Cantlay will be, because I like him in that range too. I think I'd take him over Cam Smith this week, even though I really like Cam Smith. I actually had a little top 10 bet on him, but last week. But again, another player missed the cut. Didn't have to like partake in the weekend at the Masters, so coming in here fresh. It was only 3 starts ago he was T4 and in the mix to win at Riviera. A T3 here last year, or second or something. I think it was T3. I think he'll be lower on than Cam Smith. I think Webb Simpson's going to suck a ton of ownership up too. I like him in DFS. I'm not sure about betting. I might bet him though. I mean, especially if he drifts to 40-1 or something. I mean, look. I feel like he could easily be, if he was coming in with even a little bit of form, he could be like the 3rd most expensive player in this field. That's how quality a player he is. So I like it at that price, and I hope I'm right about the ownership, because I think you get him really low on this week. That's just my opinion.
I can't guarantee it, but I think there could be a little Chris Kirk love this week.
Oh yes,
so.
Yes. Guy who's played really consistent. It's a Chris Kirk type of course, 100-1. Already got that in. Don't worry.
I know you like him, so.
No, I mean, hey, I like guys like that who consistently go off overpriced and have won before, and I know they can win on courses like this, at specific courses. Mm-hmm. And Chris Kirk almost won the Players one year. The year Ricky won, he was kind of in the mix in the Sunday. Pretty good. So he's got some Pete Dye track history too. He's just been really consistent over the last 3 or 4 months. And like, again, come back to that narrative. Did not play last week. This is like the Masters for Chris Kirk right now. Because I mean, if he wants to get in next year, he's got to win an event like this. So sounds corny, but it's true. Guys like Kevin Na, Chris Kirk, Luke Donald. I mean, Luke Donald's just fighting to stay on tour with these events. He's got like 3 or 4 stops every year where he can be competitive. So again, maybe I'm making a case to roster Luke Donald. It's more of a narrative thing, but it is true. I mean, these guys got to get up for these events, because this is where they make their money. This is how they can stay on tour. So
you know what? I wish they had to make the cut bets like every week.
Oh yeah, no kidding.
I'd feel really good about betting on Billy Horschel to make the cut this week.
Billy Ho.
And he's not been, he hasn't been.
He's not been good.
He's missed the cut on the number 2 of the last 3 times. He finished 54th with Arnold Palmer, but I mean, he's not been good. He's been really bad. He's made 3 of 8 cuts since the Farmers. So, nothing special. But if you're going to take a chance on a guy in the low 7s that you just need to fill out a lineup, I like that. I'm not saying he's in a bet territory yet, but I just if you're going to take the higher low of what his range is right now, and that's maybe like the best case scenario is a 27th, and the worst is a missed cut. Like I'd say he makes the cut and gives you a little bit of return on that number. Interesting.
Is that just things you're seeing, kind of like from a ball striking perspective, or?
Yeah, I mean, again, you know the charts I generally look at. I mean, the one I have in front of me. I guess I didn't send it over to you, but I'm looking. He's just looking like it's in the right direction. It's slightly up. He's a secret stat guy, but it's just whether the putter shows up, and the putter hasn't been terrible. He's kind of like on baseline, but he's hitting more greens consistently week over week. It's just I'm just looking at like the overall trends and how secret stats looking. It's not so exciting, but it's just one guy that's like, it looks better than he's probably going to be perceived by everyone else.
Right. And it's kind of interesting because I kind of threw him out there as like a really cheap guy who could maybe target the Masters for some similar reasons. He didn't look too bad for me on paper. I know obviously the missed cuts, but I'm just talking about everything else. But maybe this is the week where he finally like turns things around. He's a guy who can turn things around quickly. Like he's gone long missed cuts in his career and then popped some bigger finishes. So wouldn't be all that shy. I like that though as a call because I know he's got a decent course history here too. Obviously we got Kirk down there too. Is there? Oh, Kelly Craft too is another guy I really like. 100, like bigger than 100. He's only 6,900 though. Are you getting back on the Craft train this week?
Listen, we were on him. We made a good.
Yeah, I mean he paid off for us already. So
it's. I do have a little bit of that when you hit on guys that you shouldn't hit with. I don't really go back to the pot unless I really see something, and he's kind of come back to where I. He
didn't play well in Houston, yeah.
I'm not. I didn't see much more there. Charles Howell III, who I generally mention a lot more than I probably should. I see him kind of making a nice little turn in the right direction. The putter's still not there, but better than it was last time we spoke about it. So I think what I like to see at a course like this is if you have a guy that's been a good putter in the past and they're hitting it well, I'm of the mindset that if you play on smaller greens, the worst putters do well. And he's not a worse putter, but he's not putting well. So if this maybe helps him get some better looks because he is striking it fine, that's kind of the angle I'm taking with discussing him.
Right. Okay. And I'm just going to look at Chucky Hells.
I don't really, I shouldn't say that. I'm looking at some of the stuff for Kraft. I don't hate him. It's just it's a field thing. Like I liked him at Punta Cana because his numbers were so much better than a crappy field. It's tough for me. I'm always looking at these numbers from a betting perspective. So for me, that means you better win top 5 or top 10. And now, we've been mixing some top 20s, and it's just, it's like the same kind of conversation about Billy Horschel. Like I like Kelly Craft this week over guys in that price range, but I'm not sure I'm ready to say a top 10's coming.
Right. I will say this about Kraft. I feel like this could turn out to be a good course for him. He's played well at Pebble Beach, another seaside course, but he's kind of a streaky player. So maybe I'll probably throw a few bucks on from a bomb standpoint kind of thing. Just he's pretty high up there in odds, so you have to make a huge investment in him. I do like him for DK though. I'll be honest. Like if you're just to mix in for your GPP plays, because I'm looking under 7K. And again, it's kind of like you said, if you're just looking at price range, not too much down there. Doc Redman's back in the field. Corey Connors is 6,800. He'll probably be popular. But, again, you want to take a chance. Lingworth is kind of interesting at this course. Plays really well at Pete Dye courses, but he hasn't done much of late. Blaine Barber, who's like a Bermuda fiend, is interesting.
What about Kazire after not playing really well last week at all?
This course should be like perfect for Patton Kazire. If you look what he does well, again, he's not a guy who drives it well off the tee, but he putts and his iron game is awesome. So I mean, look, he won at OHL and the Sony Open, two other shorter courses where guys like Graham McDowell compete every year. So
He's made the cut both years here. His average finish is 23rd. Let's see, what were those two finishes? He was 32nd and 14th the last two times out here.
yeah, he was kind of in contention here one year. Actually, I think he might have even been like third round leader or something,
Yeah,
and they just imploded. I kind of feel like he was.
I think it's a good number. I think 7,300 is great. I think 13-2 on fantasy draft is phenomenal.
Yeah,
19th in secret stat, like you said, he's a ball striker with the irons.
be pretty crazy if Pan Desire won a third time this season, and it's not even like June.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, like, we have him ranked 77th in form. Like, so the form is not really there, but he's getting it done this season overall. I mean,
yeah, no, I mean definitely he's won twice. Like, like I said, from a course fit perspective, you couldn't dial it up much better for Pan. So definitely from like a DK perspective, I don't hate it. Although there's a lot of players in that range. Maybe it's probably more GPP just because of recent form. I'd probably even trust like Howell over him. Although Howell doesn't have the great. Actually, I think the guy I like most from a cash game from that range would be Cauley, to be honest. But definitely lots of players in that range who are interested. Streelman is interesting too. Pretty good course history, good scrambling numbers. Actually, I think he was like runner-up at this event one year. So I mean, that's another guy in that range.
So just looking at the macro data, is Kuchar like? If you're going to spend one of the high guys, like the easiest cash play?
Oh, it's...
Right?
He's got to be. Like, he's just got to be. I mean, he's third most expensive. But, I mean, from a course history perspective, and even now a recent form perspective, because he's played well 2 weeks in a row.
He made 8 straight cuts. And he's, you know what the thing is? He's putting really well. He's ranked 7th in the field in strokes gained putting over the last 12 weeks.
Right. He's still not really striking it that well, is he? Like, just from what I've seen. He's not quite up to, like, I don't think he's going to win this week. But, I mean, he's made 13 straight cuts at this event. So, with a win.
It's just a class conversation. Again, he's just better than all of these people. Even if he's not playing great, like, he is one of the premier 5-10 guys in this field, and it's not even close. I mean, he's made 13 of 14 cuts here with an average finish of 27th over, so we're talking almost a decade and a half.
I mean, I think Matt Kuchar comes to this event every year, writes like $100,000 on a check and just gets them to sign it, basically, because that's pretty much like this is like one of his main money makers. So
he hasn't missed the cut here since 2003. So he's made
13 straight cuts.
He's made 13 straight cuts. He has we're calling the 11th a top 10. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 top 10s. I mean, yeah, he hasn't finished worse than 11th in the last 4 years. So it's just like if you're just making like bulk cash lineups, how do you avoid that at that price?
Yeah, I don't think you do unless you want to go like just load up on like Webb and Cantlay. But even then, I don't think that's worth it. So no, I mean when I was making like a dummy lineup today, because I always just try and make it like a really simple cash lineup when I do that. I'm like, okay, Kuchar, obviously, he's third most expensive.
Well, that's what I mean. Like if it's one of those, I'd put a mortgage payment on a make the cut. Like that. That's kind of like so. That's how
you probably get like minus like 1,000, but it would still probably be worth
that's
it.
That's how I generally look at cash plays. Like, how likely are you to make the cut?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, that's when it's a full field. That's kind of something you should definitely be considering. Upside is important too, but I mean, we know Kuchar has upside in this field too. So, all right, let's move on. I mean, obviously, anything we haven't even talked about like the site or anything like that, but just from like a site perspective. Anything you want to mention before we make final predictions or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, we did add that new one and done, so we had a handful of people. No one picked Patrick Reed. No one. A couple people took Spieth.
Ricky.
A couple people took Ricky, but a couple people took Spieth and went wild card right out the gate. And that got the most. That got him 1.4 million in earnings. So really interesting. A lot of people took the wild card, which it makes sense. I think a lot of people the wild card scenario is new to some people. It's not. Some people it's new. It's kind of like a modified lone wolf. You basically get to decide you're going to be that for the week, and it makes sense because it's one of the highest purses, and it's a smaller field. So if you're going to take a wild card on one of the guys, I think it makes sense. I didn't do it, personally, because right out of the gate, it's always a little risky. But a couple people hit with Spieth and got basically close to a winner's check at 1.4 million by doing that. Other things on the site, lineups. Listen, they work pretty well right now. There's a couple extra features we're fine tuning. Like right now, you can basically force a guy into the field, force a guy out of the field. You can build hundreds of lineups. It'll generate. You can pick all the stats. We're trying to work on some of the settings to make it so that you can have a little bit of a guy or a lot of a guy, but just some of the code we're cleaning up there. Articles we've been pumping out. Even I got into the mix a little bit last week. I saw some interesting stuff with the
draws. That was really interesting. And
it was the same scenario. The more I looked at it, the more it just seems to be where the best players get put.
Right.
But at the same time, it was still uncanny to see. Even if the best players in the world are always there, when you looked at just instances and not just averages, the fact that the best score had never come from this time, or the worst of the best scores had never come from. It was just very, very interesting to see it so one-sided on both ends there. So, listen, there's not too much new on the site. We offered a couple promotions to our weekly subscribers. We had a bunch of people join just for the week, but we want to make sure that we're going to provide them some value long term. They want to stick with us. Listen, it's an exciting part of the year. The season's really started. I said the season kind of started at the Genesis because it felt that way, but for a lot of people, a casual golf fan, this is when the golf season starts and they're interested. So obviously a lot to offer. If they're listening for the first time today, feel free to check it out. Weekly, monthly, yearly memberships, all the data tools, all the articles, mostly by you. The contests, a lot of stuff there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. If you are just listening to this for the first time, definitely check it out. Free to make a membership, obviously, and check out all the different subscription options and stuff like that. But yeah, no, the lineup builder's definitely something like a tool you should definitely check out, especially if you're making multiple lineups. Even if you're just making 4 or 5 a week, just the ability to exclude, use the guide as a sort of a outline or whatever for your rankings and stuff like that. It's very cool stuff. So check that out. But let's end. Give me your pick for the week, and give me one wild card guy who's going to do something.
Yeah, I'm really not too out on a limb on this one. I think Paul Casey is gonna take it down this week. He already got another win this week. Maybe he could be a little burnt from trying to play. He was in and out of it last week, but I like Paul Casey this week. I think he's playing by far better than anyone in this field, even DJ. Although DJ did come back last week. I think DeChambeau is kind of interesting. I know you don't really love him. There's just something. I wanted to like him last week, and he didn't really get it done. Maybe he's burnt out, like you said. So maybe I'm picking 2 guys that are on their kind of last tank or last couple of gallons of gas, but hopefully not. That's where I'm at. I think Casey's going to win, and I wouldn't be surprised if DeChambeau's in the mix.
Wow. So now I got to go against Casey. This is just putting me in a horrible spot here. And yeah, that'd be crazy if Casey won twice in 3 starts. I did say that it's probably going to happen, but I was just hoping he was going to win last week. But who am I going to take here? Kind of want to take Ollie. Kind of want to take Ryan Moore. Screw it, I'll say Ollie. I'll say Ollie gets his first win here. I like the fact he's coming in off a bit of a rest. I think he's played under the radar very well this year. So I'll go with Ollie for a guy coming in under the radar. I'll say Charles Schwartzel puts up a top 5 here too. I really feel like he's going to get his season going pretty quick. And like I said, it was a bad miscut last week, but it wasn't maybe as bad as it appeared. I feel like he's the guy who's close, and this is a weaker field event. I think he can flash. So I'll say Schwartzel for a top 5, but I'll say, you know what? I'm gonna change. I'm gonna say Grillo. I'm gonna say Grillo wins.
Oh.
I'll say Ollie top 5 and Schwartzel top 5, but I'll say Grillo wins.
There you go.
So there you go. They have it. Anyways, it was not as enthused as our Masters podcast, but it's the Masters hangover week, so it's the RBC Heritage. Should be good. Keep checking out the site. If you're thinking about subscribing, or if you're already a subscriber, obviously weekly deals up. It's only like $5 to subscribe to the site for a week. So if you want to try it out for a week, very affordable. You can check out all the weekly articles. I got Tuesday one going up, which goes over like my core plays who I really like for DraftKings. We got the betting. If you're a subscriber, no matter what, monthly, weekly, yearly, you get the FGM bets. So you get a nice betting card from Steve, which has been very profitable this year. Looks at all the different markets, top 5s, top 20s, outrights, obviously, but it's condensed. It's not crazy or anything like that. You don't have to break the bank. Very cool, but you get that too. Get used to the site tools, obviously, which you can go check out. But definitely check that out. But yeah, from both of us, me at the Fantasy Grind on Twitter, Steve at FG Metrics on Twitter. Have a good RBC. Have a good recovery from the Masters, guys, and we'll talk to you again next week.
Georgia, all the time, it ain't nothing on my mind, but Georgia.